Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast, and I'm excited to be here. I am super excited to be here. If you're watching on YouTube, you may be able to tell that I'm in a different room than where I recorded before. And that is for a lot of reasons. But this is where I teach yoga. And I just started thinking maybe it'd be easier to record everything in the same place. And you know, when you have that big idea that's going to solve a little problem, but it creates 1,000 other problems. That's what that was. So I had it all set up this morning and was going to test it out and make an episode. And because this room doesn't have carpet and just has a lot of shelves and things, it was super echoey. So I had to sound absorb it. They say it's not soundproofing when I looked into it, but I had to do things to make that sound get absorbed. And right now it just looks like a bunch of blankets are everywhere and curtains. It's not a long-term solution, but it's working today so I can podcast or record for you. So I wanted to kind of branch off from what I talked about yesterday about starting and just getting a little bit done. It's better to get something done than none. And it's even okay if it's not complete. I mean, of course, it feels really good to have things be complete, but we don't always have chunks of time in our lives to get rid of things or to reorganize or clean up. We don't always have to get rid of things, but it seems like we do. At least it seems like that to me. It seems like I'm having to manage, because if you think about it, when you go to the store and you buy something, unless your house, apartment, or wherever you live has an infinite amount of space, when you bring things in, when I'm bringing in bags of things from whatever store that's not food, eventually my house will max out. I either have to get rid of some things or move things around so things fit or things get tighter. But at some point, you just can't keep bringing things in without getting rid of things. And items that we have wear out, and we might need to declutter, or we might just not fit into certain clothes anymore or not like them anymore. I tend to hang on to things for a long time, but I also declutter. I have that love-hate relationship with getting rid of stuff. It feels so good to do it, but there are other things that are really hard to get rid of. And there are clothing items I've had for at least 15 years that I don't wear. Why do I still have them? I could tell stories, but I'll spare you that. But yeah, there's an emotional attachment. And even though I have that desire to hold on to something that I don't need, haven't used in 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, I still won't get rid of it. So you think that would solve the problem. Like, I would decide in my mind, well, I've made that choice, so I'm going to be happy that I still have it. And some of those things, I feel like that. I have a dress, a blue dress. It's what's his name? Isaac Mizrahi? I think it is, if I'm getting it wrong. Do you know when your brain just doesn't work? You can usually remember something, but you can't right now. Yeah, I think it is Isaac Mizrahi, the designer. And he used to have clothes at Target, and they were really nice clothes. And this is a dress that I kept. My daughter even had a black taffeta dress that she wore to her 8th grade graduation. Fabulous dress. But I'm not getting rid of that one, and I'm okay with it hanging in my closet. I like seeing it. I like touching it, and that doesn't wear me down. But there's a paradox with ADHD and clutter for a lot of women, maybe for other people too, but I'm just going to address the women because sometimes we feel a responsibility or a weight for how our home's organized, how things are taken care of. And the paradox is that two things happen with our brains. So let's say your closet's getting overflowed with whatever, and you put some things in there, some blankets, some sheets, whatever. And when you see it, when you go into that closet, you think, I need to to spend some time going through the sheets, seeing if I still need them, or organizing them better so I can actually find sheets when I need them, the ones that are, the queen size or the twin size, come up with a system. And I have done that. I've come up with that system. But there are times when a system doesn't function in the way it first was intended. And maybe it did really well for a long time, but at some point it's not working anymore, very well. And that could be that you have more people in your home now and you have more sheets. And so maybe that closet isn't the best place, or maybe you have to take something else out of it to make room for those sheets. Whatever that is, that initial system may not end up being the best. When my daughter moved out of this house, I thought, oh my goodness, that's a whole closet that's going to be empty. That's a whole closet. Like, what am I going to do with that closet? And I decided to put the linens there, which was great in a lot of ways because there were shelves that I could just put the linens on. The problem was that didn't help for the bed. I was going to say beds downstairs. There's only my bed downstairs, but it didn't help for the bedding downstairs. It didn't work to have everything up there because every time I wanted to change the sheets, I had to go all the way through the house, up the stairs, into that room. It wasn't always convenient. Or if my grandchildren spend the night, I had their little sleeping bags up there. I have a bear one, a little doggy one, and a unicorn. Facebook Marketplace is wonderful that way. But anyway, so yeah. So it wasn't helpful to have those upstairs if they weren't sleeping downstairs. If they weren't sleeping upstairs, you want to have some functionality. And so then I had to think, okay, then what would the system be? Okay, I'll keep some sheets upstairs. I'll keep some bedding downstairs. And I actually revamped that since then. I'm constantly seeing the flaws in the system and figuring out a new system, just like I am with recording this podcast right here. And if you want to see, I can turn this. You can see a blanket hanging here. It's over here. Oh, there's another blanket. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But trying to make the screen where it doesn't show up the whole time. But anyway, so yeah. So part of the problem is if we have that on our to-do, if that's on our, I need to take care of that. I need to get the Christmas decorations all the way put away. I put them in the closet, but I haven't put them away. And do they even fit in there anymore? Do I need to do it a different way? Did I throw stuff in there? You have that need to do something. But your brain might, and probably does, have an out of sight, out of mind effect. You shut that closet door, you get on your way, and you don't do it. You don't take care of it. You don't even think to do it until the next time you open that closet. I was explaining to a friend this morning who loves to do yard work and tree work and bushes and garden and everything. I like that too, but I never do it because I don't like it more than the other things I want to do. I think it's fun to do, but to me, it's just like it takes up so much time. I don't want to spend my time doing that. So we have a very big front yard, but it doesn't have grass. It's more woodsy. We live in a woodsy, foresty area. And the front yard has kind of weedy grass, and that's okay because there's big trees and it's green and there's some bushes. And I'm more of a survival of the fittest gardener. If you can survive in my yard, you get to stay. The problem is plants keep growing or weeds come up. And so that would need to be managed. And in our case, with these giant trees, the limbs fall constantly. They fall constantly. I didn't know this. In California, that doesn't happen unless there's a storm. But in Florida, with these trees, they fall all the time. Sometimes big, sometimes small. Sometimes we're glad we weren't out there at the time. And so we have limbs in our yard. And the previous owner would, and a lot of people here do, they take them and make a pile and burn it, make a burn pile. Well, we haven't done that because we have a neighbor who's allergic to smoke. And that neighbor moved in just before we did. So I don't think the other neighbors were being inconsiderate, but we found that out. So we're helping that neighbor by not burning. And honestly, I feel safer that way, not making a big bonfire. So the neighbor handles that problem by paying somebody to gather up the wood, cut it into pieces that can be taken out to the road. And to me, that's tedious. That's just like, I'm not going to do all that. I could take them out to the road if they were whole, but I'm not going to cut them up and I don't have the money to pay somebody. So that leaves me with thinking I should do this. And every time I drive by our front yard, which is almost once a day, I see it. And I think, you really need to wake up a little early because it's starting to get hot. I can't do it when it's this hot. You need to wake up a little early and just go out there and do it first thing. Like it's a workout. It is a workout. And it's fun. I like doing it. And I even bought really nice gloves to wear and everything. But I never remember to do it. I never remember unless I'm outside. What is a tip for helping with that? I'm sure you could think of it, is writing a note. Problem is I never take a notepad in the car with a pen because that's when I think of it. So I just strategizing right now on the fly. I'm saying, add some paper and a pen to your car, to your bag that you take each day, and write that down. And then maybe add it on to my list of things or my plans of things to do into my daily schedule until those are taken care of. So if you're forgetting to do something, and maybe it's 1,000 things, but if you're forgetting about something that you can't see, it's called object permanence, which to me sounds more like the object is permanently in there and you don't see it. Object permanence to me, like if I were to define it, it doesn't make sense because I would think like it's permanently in my mind, and it is in a different way, but the real definition is object permanence is, well, maybe it is. Maybe we just have an object permanence issue. Yeah. You get to think through this with me. I think it does mean you can have, okay, I'm looking it up. We're learning together object permanence definition, psychology. Let's learn together. Oh, so yeah, I have this problem too. Okay. So object permanence issue. So this is where the paradox is. So the issue with object permanence when you are out of sight, out of mind, means that you struggle with object permanence. You don't remember it when it's not in sight. So if you can't see it, you can't hear it, it's hidden, you might forget it. If you have ADHD, this is super, super common to think, I need to do this, or start to do something and forget because you're no longer in that space, in that room. Another example is starting a load of laundry and forgetting to go back in and change it and put it into the dryer, or or starting to make popcorn and forgetting that I use the air popper, and forgetting that you started to make popcorn and you go in the other room and it's still going, it's long after it's all popped. Today, I was leaving the gym after I taught my 4th class. I taught 4 classes today. 2 were subbed and 2 were my new classes. But anyway, I'm walking out of the gym and I just kind of not yelled, but just exclaimed, "Oh no." I laughed so hard because I've been drinking these sodas. You can't see it because it's in a cup right now, but with ice. I love ice. But I've been drinking these sodas that are sweetened with Zevia or stevia. I call it Zevia, but it's probably Zevia, but it's sweetened with stevia. And I like them a lot, but I like them cold because I like ice. And if I put a room temperature one in a cup of ice, it kind of waters down the soda and it doesn't give you as much ice. So I had some in the pantry. I didn't have any more in the fridge. And I just thought, just put 2 of them in the freezer. And in about 5 minutes, come in or take one out, pour it into your ice. And then when you've already drunk that one, then you could pour the other one in. And I have some background with this, some experience with freezing sodas. I think initially when I did it, this is high school, I did it because I thought frozen soda would taste good. But then if it's in a can, how do you get it out, or slushy soda? I don't know what I was thinking. But I was staying with my grandparents. I bought a pack of soda, probably a 6-pack or 12-pack or something, and put it in their freezer. And it was that big, really wide, long freezer. What do they call it? It's more like it has a big lid instead of a storage freezer or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the kind that's not upright. The opposite of upright has the lid. I put them in there, forgot about them, and I didn't know that the can would expand. And when I went back to open the freezer, each can had exploded in the freezer in all directions. So there was frozen soda just shot in all directions. And my grandparents said, "Oh, Renee." And so I learned from that. I know that's a possibility. So now my idea is to put them in the freezer and not let that happen. Just keep them in there for a little bit of time. And I've had a few times that I slipped up and forgot, but thankfully it just kind of expanded a little bit and it didn't explode, except for about a month ago. I did have 2 explode in there. So I was mindful of that today, but I didn't write myself a note. I totally forgot until I was leaving the gym about 2.5 hours later. And I thought, oh no, came home. Thankfully they didn't explode. But I've learned that if you open them up after they're frozen, they will shoot out, even if, it kind of just lets it expand or something. So I just put them in my gym bag to let them thaw out. I don't know why I put them in there. I was afraid if I put them on the counter, somebody might open them and then they'd have some kind of incident. But I'll probably forget that they're in my gym bag till tomorrow, and then they'll be room temperature again. But yeah, out of sight, out of mind. So that is an object permanence issue. And there is a psychiatrist, a child psychologist, actually, Jean Piaget. I wonder if he's French. And this psychologist discovered object permanence is something that a baby learns in the baby's brain development. At some point, that is learned. That's so wonderful for that baby. That's so wonderful for that baby. And you might have some object permanence to some degree, but if you suffer from forgetting the second you leave a situation, your brain developed differently. Or it might be changing as you get older, as you hit perimenopause or menopause or beyond, to infinity and beyond. So, okay, so that's the one thing with ADHD and clutter. You might let it grow and not manage it or reorganize it and feel very dysfunctional when you go into that situation again and someone says, "Oh, where's that paper?" Blah, 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 blah. And you think, "Oh, I never," and you realize you let the paperwork grow. And each time you saw it, you thought, "I should handle this," but you didn't. And then you have to look through a million pieces of paper and you still don't find it, or maybe you do. And as you're doing it, you're thinking, "I need to take some time to shred papers or go through these papers." And then you don't. So that out of sight, out of mind can lead to frustration and just not functioning as well in your day and having things go as smoothly. However, there's a different kind of object permanence issue that is, even though something is out of sight and out of mind, it is weighing heavy on your mind. Does that ever happen? So there may be some areas that you don't forget that paperwork is overflowing. You never forget, but it's weighing heavy on your mind. And that might have a purpose because you do need to deal with it to some degree. Your life will go a little better if you're able to deal with it. But you can also carry a mental load for clutter that doesn't even matter as far as functioning. So you might have a closet that's just way too stuffed, or your drawers are pretty stuffed, but you can still find what you're looking for. So functioning wise, it doesn't matter. But like as far as can you find that bra or pair of socks? Yeah, it might take a little more effort. It might take a little more time, but you can still find it in the drawer. But if you have some things that weigh heavy on your mind that you're not even using, do you have anything like that? Maybe you don't. I suffer from this big time, where I have boxes of things that I brought in this last move almost 3 years ago, boxes of things that I brought from the move 11 years before that, and a year and a half before that, that I know I still haven't dealt with. Kind of crazy, huh? Do you have anything like that you haven't dealt with in that closet, in that box? And so instead of being able to deal with it before the next time you move, or even looking in it and see if there's anything that still exists that you need, you just keep it there in the attic. And maybe that's great. Maybe for some people, like, it's in the attic. I have a friend that, and she says she also has ADHD. She's not diagnosed, but I for sure believe her. And in her mind, she doesn't care how much stuff she has if she has a container for it. If she has a big box for it and a label, she doesn't care. Or even, not a label. Yeah, that would help my mind a little bit. But for me, I just don't like carrying the extra. I feel the extra. It's still heavy on my mind that I have that extra and I don't need it. But yet I might need 2 things in there. So, and we don't want to leave that for whoever's left after we die. So that's lurking on my brain. Not to make it weigh on your brain, but do you have something that's kind of this paradox that you might not remember to take care of it, and yet you feel the weight of it. You feel the weight of it. And you just feel like it's not resolved. Like you always have this to-do list in your brain. I've got so much to do. The closet's a mess. The bedroom's a mess. And yet there's other rooms I go in and I think, oh, I haven't been up here, because we have a few extra bedrooms here because some kids moved out. And I'll go in there and think, oh, it's been 2 months since my brother-in-law and sister-in-law left, and I haven't even taken the sheets off because it doesn't really matter and I don't care and I'm never up there. But other things do weigh on my mind, your mind, they might. So, yeah. So ADHD affects your ability to initiate a task, to organize what you're going to do in your day, to get those things done. It also affects your emotional regulation. You might have emotional dysregulation. You might feel a sense of guilt or just overwhelm. It might not even be guilty, like, oh, I feel so guilty, because maybe you don't. Maybe it's not a guilt, but maybe it's just an overwhelm of eventually I need to deal with that. And that's why it could be helpful just to throw the whole box away. I think about that almost every day. So what I want to do, because I do best with my ADHD when I'm working on something with somebody else, whether it's in the same house, in the same room, co-working through the computer, or just knowing that we're all in this together. So what I want to do for June, if you're in on it, if not, that's okay. I'll keep doing it. But I want June to be a Conquer the Clutter month. And even if you're traveling part of the time, that's okay. But as you're packing, maybe put some stuff in a donation pile. Or as you're unpacking, I never even wore this. Will I even wear it again? Or I don't like this suitcase anyway. The wheel's broken. Deal with the clutter, even if it's just a little bit. Even if it's just some is better than none. Some is still good. Doing part of that is really good. One of my favorite ways of handling clutter was, I don't know if it was a challenge or what. I saw it on Facebook years ago. And how just things just pop up. And every day for a month, the challenge was day 1, get rid of 1 thing. Day 2, get rid of 2 things. Then 3, then 4, then 5. So it's not like on the 5th day you're getting rid of 1 more. Every day you're increasing how many things you get rid of. And if you go over that number, that's fine, because that would happen. Some days there were days that I just walk in the kitchen, open a few cupboards and think of 3 things in here that you don't need anymore. And I'd throw them into a bag or a box to get rid of, to take to the thrift store. And you could even throw stuff away if you wanted. But some days I'd start in a drawer in the bathroom, and it might be my goal was 6 of them, and I'd actually get rid of 10. But each time I took a picture of it. I took a picture because that's what people on Facebook were doing. And I don't think I ever found that group again that was doing it, but I saw it a few times, enough that I thought, I want to do that. So I actually, back when I used to post on Facebook pretty regularly, I don't really anymore, but I would take a picture of that one thing and put a 1 by it, and maybe scribble a little 1. That was my little artsiness back then, and post a picture of it. Got rid of 1 thing today, 2 things, 3, and I'd have my picture. And I'd have my picture. And the funny thing is you know how Facebook shows you your memories, your memory photos? Every once in a while, one of those will come up with like 23 things. And I think, is there something in there I wish I hadn't got rid of? And yet I'm grateful I did. But that's one approach. If you want to do it that way, we could do it that way. Or we could take one area. You could, and I want you to choose how you do it. I want you to choose how you do it, where you can set your goal of, it's just the kitchen, it's just my closet, it's just the garage. Whatever that is, set your goal. You can tell me about it. You can email me, or you can write to me on Instagram. But really, if you write to me on Instagram, I'll probably say, here's my email me, because it's easier to email for me anyway, because you can write more. It's easier, and use your computer or whatever. But yeah, you can choose if you want to tackle an area, if you want to do 1 thing a day and increase it to 30 things by the last day. Are there 38 days in June? I think there are. So I invite you to do that with me. If you want to do it, please go to my website, renee-allen.com, and you can write to me through the contact or about. I can't remember what tab it is. My website's still not finished, but I think that part's working. If not, just write to me at Renee at inspiringwomenadhd.com. There's no with. I was trying not to make it too long, but Renee at inspiringwomenadhd.com. And just say, hey, I want to be a part of this, and we'll be in touch. So I would love to do that. If you, just going back to this, if you struggle between those 2 areas of not remembering to do something, and yet it still drains your energy, it's still pulling on you in some way, there are different things that you can do. One is just fight the pull. So if you're feeling weighed down, just talk to yourself about it. You can always pray about it too. You can do breathing techniques and stuff, but just having a conversation with yourself, like, it's okay that it's there right now. I don't need to deal with it. Maybe next month I will. If you really want to push it out to the next one, realistically think about, when could I do this? And that is probably the next time I could deal with this. So between now and then, I'm just going to give myself a break. Give yourself a break, just like you would a friend. If a friend came to you and said, I feel so horrible every day, and you'd say, oh, I don't want you to feel that way. What can I do? And you'd think of something, hopefully, to maybe help take some of that weight off. Or can I help you or something? You can also ask for help, or get help, or just ask a friend to come over while you do it and talk to you, or talk to someone on the phone, or, whatever it is that can help you do that, or even schedule your time. If you think about it, when you schedule a trip, you have to move other things out of the way, make other arrangements for what's going on in your mind, in your life. And so if you do that with whatever it is that you want to get done, schedule that time, put it on the calendar as if you're going out of town, and just don't make anything else the priority, only that one thing. But I think that's going to be it for now. But yeah, having support with friends, and that's what I'm hoping to do if we're in touch in June. You can even come to my Facebook group. I have one, Inspiring Women with ADHD. I think that's what it's called. But I really want to come up with a different Facebook group, because that one is more, well, it's really not doing anything. It's not doing anything unless I'm doing a challenge or something, like the focus challenge. So that's a place where we can be in touch, and I haven't done that in a while. But I want to have another Facebook group that's more, has a specific purpose, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can find me there too. If you're just thinking, how on earth can I find her? That's how. So anyway, I think that's it for today. But I will be back again. And sorry for my last one being so short. But you know what? I think I'm going to add a few short ones every once in a while, because I think that might do a little better on Facebook. What is it called? YouTube. My brain's almost done here. But yeah, I might have some shorter ones in between the long ones, just to have little tidbits to be able to watch or listen to. But I really do enjoy the longer format. I enjoy it as a listener and as a speaker, podcast host. But thank you so much. I will be back again. Bye.